Hello, Sarah.
Hello. It's all right. Just trying to press all the right buttons. I'm fine, thank you. It's very grey and wet here.
Okay, so we'll start at 4:30 sharp.
Right.
Okay, so just 2 minutes. Sarah, are you able to share your screen?
Share screen. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So it's late morning here, but I'm sure you've got much nicer weather than we have.
Yes.
We had snow a fortnight ago, believe it or not.
Wow.
Not a lot, but enough. Not good for my garden.
Sorry?
Not good for my garden.
Okay, yes. So I think we can start now.
Okay.
Yeah, so just give me 5 minutes to introduce. Okay, thank you so much. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Diksha Butola, and I will be your host for this event. We are excited to have you all here to learn about Jolly Grammar. The workshop will cover spelling progression in Jolly Grammar 1 and 2, and the rest will be covered tomorrow. I want to give Sarah a warm welcome coming today to share her knowledge with us. The event will follow the same instruction as before. We'll put everyone on mute except for our speaker to avoid any. Disable the chat.
Oh, that could be interesting. Our host has disappeared. This is where I have to do a quick dance to make up the time. Okay.
Hi, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
We were just wondering where you'd gone. I had to do a little dance.
Okay. As before, we'll put everyone on mute except for our speaker to avoid any disruptions. We will disable the chat box. So please write down all your questions. And at the end, there will be 10 minutes questionnaire session that will enable the chat for everyone. The session is being recorded as well, so which will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So please stay until the end. As we all know, there is a 5-minute assessment that must be completed in order for you to obtain your certificate for this webinar. So now, I would like to introduce our speaker before we start our session. Sarah is a primary and elementary school teacher at Woodslope Primary School in England. Sarah is a linguistic and educator who is best known for her work on the Jolly Grammar program, which is a phonics and grammar technique teaching method for children. Sarah developed the Jolly Grammar program in collaboration with co-author Sue Lloyd. The Jolly Grammar program is a part of the wider Jolly Phonics program, which teaches children how to read and write using a phonetic approach. The program uses a range of multisensory techniques, including songs, actions, and stories to engage the children and help them learn. Jolly Grammar in particular focuses on teaching grammar concepts such as parts of speech, sentence structures, and punctuations. Sarah's work on Jolly Grammar program has been instrumental in helping children learn grammar concept in a fun and engaging way. Now over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I don't actually teach at the school anymore. We do still go in and we do still have links, and they do still use the program, and they do still get excellent results. Okay. But these days I spend more time doing things like this and talking to people, which is lovely. Never ever imagined that we would be doing this all over the world. It was just something we did in our own classroom, and it's been a huge journey and a huge privilege, I could say. So yeah, it's lovely to be here today. I do quite a lot with SAR. They're a very busy and progressive organisation that always seem to have things on and all sorts of things. So, you know, that's really excellent and lovely to work with. Right, so we've only got an hour this morning. So I will get going. And it does that. Right, okay. All the instructions are coming over the... Yeah, got it now. Right, so this morning we are talking about mostly Jolly Grammar 1 and 2 and spelling. Jolly Grammar, I always find, is a bit of a misnomer. As we will see in a minute, it's actually all part of a continuum with the Jolly Phonics program. They're all part together. Originally, we produced the Phonics Handbook, which Sue Lloyd talked about a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was. And that was it, really. Didn't expect we would do very much more. However, it sort of snowballed. And we said to Chris Jolly, who owns a publishing company, do you know, we need something more than the first year. We need something for, the next year, because although, they're pretty good, by the time they come to the end of the first year, with their spelling and things, we haven't covered everything. We do need to continue. We need a spelling program going up. And he said, yeah, okay, but you've got to have grammar with it as well. And we're like, really? Because grammar wasn't particularly taught. And it certainly wasn't particularly taught lower primary. So anyway, we thought, well, we really want the spelling program. So, okay, we'll do the grammar. So we did. I have to say it was a bit of a learning journey for us as well. I didn't have a huge amount of grammar teaching when I was at school. Most of it came through language learning. But I find it absolutely fascinating. And I have long decided that actually the word grammar frightens grown-ups because they weren't taught it. And children, like they do everything, just take it in their stride and go, yeah, okay. Because nobody's told them it's difficult. Nobody's told them, that. And we always try and do things in a fun way, a multisensory way, and in a way that builds up the information. So that's how the course sort of came about. Some of this introduction stuff Sue may have covered, but I think it's important to say it again and to stress the links. One of the reasons why Jolly Phonics works so well is because it works through sound. If you can make the individual sounds correctly, then you are likely to pronounce the words correctly. So you are likely to have a good accent. Accent is an interesting thing. Everybody has an accent. I've put good accent as if there is one. There isn't. Even if you come to the UK, between Scotland, Wales, Northumberland, you go to any place, they have an accent. I have an accent. I went to Milan recently with Beto, one of the other trainers. We went to a restaurant and the guy who was serving us, the waiter, goes, "Oh, you're from South London, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, yeah, I lived there for 3 years, 4 years. I recognize the accent." So, you know, everyone has an accent. If you are aiming to be somewhere at a professor level in English or whatever it is, then maybe you need to receive pronunciation and standard English and everything else. Other than that, you need to have as closer sound production as you can, and to be understood, because that's the point of what we're doing. We need a wide vocabulary, you know. Again, that is part of the spelling and the grammar side. We do not want, my French is mostly linked to nouns, pointing at things, saying the words. I know a few verbs, but actually putting them in together to make a sentence, that's a lot more dodgy as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so we do all the parts of speech in the grammar. In the spelling program, we try and use as many words as we can, but the words have all been picked to not only represent the sound and the spelling, but also to be frequently used by children, which sometimes is actually different to adults, as you can imagine. You know, interesting things like dinosaurs come up mostly in children's literature rather than adults. So there are interesting differences, but they have been picked with a reason. And I always say we're very greedy, because actually what we want to ensure is that whether it's a mother tongue or whether it's a foreign or second additional language, that the children read, write and speak in English, not just one of them. You know, very easy. You often meet people who say, oh, you know, they can read in whatever language, but they find it more difficult to speak, or they don't have the confidence. We want the whole lot. And hopefully in the program, that is what we do. All of the Jolly Grammar handbooks have this strap line. The handbooks for teaching grammar, spelling and punctuation, and that in a sentence is what we do. And as I say, originally Sue and I are a bit grammar really, but as we have learned, developed and understood more, we understand that there is overlap between all of them actually, as hopefully I will demonstrate partly this morning. And it is actually very difficult to teach one of those things individually without teaching the others. They come together to form a holistic set of understanding that is what the English language is about. We want the children, we want people to be masters of it and to understand how it works, not just to mimic sentences and things that they have heard. I'm going to stress this because, again, I know Sue will have talked about this, but we are a systematic synthetic phonics program. Okay. Systematic is fine. We all understand what that means. Phonics, we know that's to do with sound. Synthetic, I always have trouble with. For me, synthetic is man-made, plastic, not natural. It has slightly unpleasant connotations. So I looked it up thinking, why? It actually came out of a research study. And when I looked up synthetic, I got this answer, made by synthesis. That's not very helpful, really, because I don't really know what synthesis is either when it comes to it. But when I looked up synthesis and I got the combining and the putting together and the building up of elements, then the light bulb went off and I thought, yes, that's what we do. And actually, it's what we do in Jolly Phonics with the basic sounds. But it is also what we do for the rest of the program. We still continue this same, the building up, the putting together, the cumulative effect across what we do. So it's still relevant, even all the way through, even to Grammar 6. So one of the reasons that we need quite a complex program to learn English, or it takes longer to learn English, is because there are a lot of problems with English. It is not regular. Okay, unlike Finnish, Spanish, on the whole, one letter or a couple of letters always make the same sound. Sadly, English isn't like that. I say we're magpies, we're language magpies. The basic language is Germanic. We had Norman French imposed upon us in 1066 after the invasion. We have been traders, raiders, and all sorts of things around the world. And we have come back from countries, and we have not only come back with goods, but we have come back with words. And we've said, that's a nice word. We'll have that, and we'll have the spelling as well. We haven't changed it. So we have words from all over, many different languages, but it has made many problems when you come to learn English, okay? So phonemes, which is just a different word for sounds, can be represented by graphemes, so that's letters, and they can have 1, 2, 3, or even 4 letters in them, okay? So we know digraphs, the sh. We can have trigraphs with the IGH saying I, and we've even got combinations like EIGH, which make an A sound, okay? So there's no regularity there, okay? The letter groups can also represent more than one sound. So ch can be made by the CH we normally teach, ch in chop. It can be made by the letter K in choir. They're words that we've absorbed from Greek. And it can also be the sh sound as in chalet. And words like chalet and champagne, obviously we've stolen from French, borrowed, used, incorporated, whatever the right word is. Okay, but all these things make it a much more complex language to learn than other languages that are regular. Okay. And also, sounds, phonemes, can be represented by more than one grapheme. So we get it every way. So these are 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, I think. But these all make an A sound. So we've got the one we teach first, the AI as in rain. We teach the alternatives AY as in day and cake. Right, the EIGH that we looked at just now, 8, that's A, that's still that A sound, even though it's all those letters. Acorn, just the letter by itself, can also make the long A sound. Normally it says A, but not always. EY at the end of day, and ballet, or ballet, we say. Again, that's from the French, okay? So what we are trying to do within the spelling program for Jolly Grammar is to help the children make sense of all these complexities. We teach, as I say, step by step. We start off with the most frequently used spellings and words, and then we build up. So it is a cumulative scheme. There's actually, 7 years if you do it straight through one book a year. Obviously, depending on your circumstances, I know people who teach this and they have very young children and they have 2, possibly 3 lessons a week, which is very different to having your children in your class 5 days a week. And obviously, if you're only going to have the children for a few hours, you're not going to progress at the same rate as someone who has their children with them all day for 5 days. But people still achieve, the children still understand. And as I say, some of that is to do with you as a teacher and knowing and understanding and assessing the pupils that you have and how quickly they can move through. But I am assuming for the purposes of today, really that you are going to be teaching the program as it is set out in the books. As I said, it is cumulative, it's progressive, it builds up. So don't just jump into the middle of it and think, haven't done Jolly Grammar, I'll just start on Grammar 1. Jolly Phonics, I'll just start on Grammar 1. You can, but you have to do a lot of extra. You will have to catch up anything that they don't know. But as I say, for children going through it, it is the best way for them to work their way through. And you as a teacher also need to understand what the children should already know. So before starting Grammar 1, they should know the basic 42 letter sounds and at least one way to write that sound. They should know how to blend regular words with those letter sounds. Okay? We never ask children to do something we haven't shown them or taught them how to do. They should know how to sound out regular words using those sounds. They should know some tricky words, mostly for reading, and they will or should have been introduced to some of the basic alternative spellings. Okay, so those are these ones. The ones on the left in black are the ones that we introduce first. So we introduce one way. When the children know and understand that, then we start introducing the other alternatives, which are in the red. So the AY and the A hop over E. And so we go on. The 5 main vowels are obvious, but then these, the OI, the OW, the they are still vowel digraphs, or they're still called vowel digraphs, because they have at least one vowel in them, if not 2. And they also have alternatives. Consonants on the whole only say their sound, that you first learn, unless they're in a digraph like the sh, but then that's obvious. The vowels are the tricky bits. They are the ones that can lead you astray and trip you up quite easily, because they are the ones that tend to have more alternative spellings. So as I say, today we are looking at the alternatives. And if you want to, it's quite useful. This is what they call a complex code chart. There are lots and lots of them about on the internet if you Google them, but this one comes from the Jolly Learning site and the resources page. And again, it's labeled the ones that we teach and the ones that we start. So that's quite useful for you as a teacher if you would like to print that off and have that. And then you can see all the alternatives for looking at. So as I say, today we're looking mostly at Grammar 1 and 2. All of the grammar series comes in 2 forms. It is the same information in both, okay? You can either take the grammar teacher's book and the pupil books, so that obviously the children write in the pupil books. In the handbooks, they are the photocopiable sheets, and you photocopy the sheets and obviously give them to the children. As I say, the information, the course inside them is exactly the same. It is just a question of which you prefer or your school prefers, which you would like to do. So we also have a few grammar workbooks. These are for Grammar 1. They're quite useful to give us homework, or if a child is doing it at school and you want something just a little bit different. But again, they go over the spellings and they go over the other things that are within the Grammar 1. But as I say, they're quite useful for homework and things because they're just a bit different. But again, they cover the same ground. So spelling, don't they teach you how to spell these days? No, I answered, they teach us how to use spell check. I love this quote because I have quite a lot of people saying this to me. Oh, you don't need that. Oh no, we've got voice recognition and predictive text and, all these sorts of things. But I have to say, I am sure you, like myself, have sent text messages where the predictive text has changed the word. I haven't quite spelt it correctly, or I've been in too much of a rush and unless you go back and check it and you know what you are checking, you can send some very strange messages. So knowing how to spell is still important. Okay. You need to know that those words that you're using are the ones you want to use and mean what you want to use, because that's the whole point of language, to communicate. Google Translate, it's a great thing. Don't get me wrong, I have been in places and I have used it to communicate. But again, it doesn't always translate exactly. Well, it does. It always translates exactly. But sometimes translating exactly isn't what you mean. So again, it's always good. A bit like if you're using a sat nav, if you just follow it blindly, sometimes you can end up in strange places. If you have a basic idea and structure in your head of where you're going and what you should be doing, you are less likely to go astray. And it's the same with spelling, really. So, spelling strategies. Okay, if you ask people for spelling strategies, I get answers like this. I see the word inside my head. I just know it. I link to other words that are related to it. I know spelling rules. I break the words into bits. I write a list of possible spellings and choose the one that looks right. I listen to sounds and record the symbols and write it down. Okay, have a quick look at those and have a think which you use, which you might think are the most important, whether you think some of them perhaps shouldn't be there. If you just concentrate the mind, if you think about if you're going to spell the word albatross, which one of those strategies would you need? Okay, albatross isn't a word you use every day, but it's one you probably have heard of and seen written down. What about if the word was something like mogspottle, she says, putting her Roald Dahl BFG type head on. And how would you go about that one? Because it's not the made up word. How would you know how to do that? Your main strategies actually should be these ones. Listening to the sounds and recording the symbols for them. That's a basic level for regular words. Okay, if there are alternative ways of spelling it, I mean, I often do this. You write the possible ways it could be spelled and think, oh, does that one look right? But if you don't know what those alternatives are, then you can't write that list. Okay, you need that information absolutely on the tip of your tongue, as we say. Break the words into small bits. That's exactly how we spell long words. We don't just start at the beginning and go sound by sound. When we get to a longer word, we'll break it into syllables and then we'll listen to the sounds. Knowing the spelling rules is sort of a foot in both camps, as it were, because you do need to know the spelling rules because they will help you. But actually, you need to be able to do these basic things first. It's great if you've got a good memory and you can see the word inside your head, but actually that means you're going to have to remember all the words in the English Oxford Dictionary, which is highly unlikely. And I just know it. Again, that's fine, but then you've got nothing to apply. You've got to know what we call word attack skills, to apply to words that you don't know and you haven't learned. So in Grammar 1, we start off and we go over the digraphs, the basic digraphs that were taught in reception year in Jolly Phonics, mostly because the digraphs are the ones, if the children are going to have problems, it will be with the digraphs. So we go over those. So there's always overlap and revision within what we do. We then spend some time looking at the short vowels and spelling rules and spelling conventions connected with those. And then we do the Y that comes at the end of the word and makes the E sound because it comes up very often and it's very simple. Yeah, at the beginning of a word. If it's in the middle of the word, it often says I. If it comes at the end, it quite often says E. Again, you're giving them strategies to approach spelling. We look at the long and the short vowel sounds and the split digraphs. Okay, I'll talk some more about that shortly. And then we look at the main alternatives one at a time, going over them. Remember, they should know all this from reception, but mostly for reading. Spelling, the knowledge tends to come through later. So that's why we're going over them one sound at a time in this particular grammar book. Okay. Now, as I say, there are two ways. There's a pupil book, which this sheet comes from. This pupil page comes from, which has some colour on it. And there is also the photocopyable sheet, which is this one. Okay, same thing. For every sheet, for every page in the pupil book, there is a teacher's page. And the teacher's page is invaluable. Read it, it tells you so much. Okay, there'll be a picture. This is from the teacher book for the teacher and pupils. There'll be a picture of the page. Okay, then it will go through and suggest a lesson plan to you to give them the spelling test. Then it will give you revision ideas, because, you know, we all know you can't tell a child something once and expect them to understand it and remember it and know it, and that's it. We have to go over and repeat things and help them to learn. Then there is information about that letter sound or letter pattern for that particular week. It goes over the spelling lists, which again I shall talk about in a bit. It tells you how to complete the activity page. And then there are some dictation words and sentences. Dictation is great. It's a real boon in helping your children learn to write and to spell. These words and sentences use the spellings that you've been teaching them, the tricky words you've been teaching them, and they again build up cumulatively, so you don't have to think of them. We've saved you time. And they are using all the things that the children should know. So again, you can continually assess how they're getting on by looking at how they do. If they got it all right, have they got something particularly wrong? If a lot of them have, go over it, teach it, use it not only as a dictation activity, but as I say, you know, you can use it to assess and make sure your children are understanding and progressing as they should. Right, the spelling lists, this is a spelling list for Gram 1, have been carefully thought out. If you don't want to do it as a spelling test, you know, give it as a vocabulary list. Talk about it with the children. There are lots of ways they can be used. And the basic point actually isn't to give them the test. The basic point is that at the end of it, they should be able to spell all these words or words with particular sounds in. You know, that's where we're going for. So the first two in Grammar 1 will be regular 2 or 3 letter words that everyone in your class should be able to do. The next word will have an initial or a final blend in it because they can be quite difficult. A digraph is where you have 2 letters that come together like the s and the h, and they make a completely different sound. So it's not s, it's sh. In a blend, like in clap, if you slow yourself down like your batteries have run out, clap, that k and that l are still both there. You tend to say clap, clap, often children will, but if you practice and identify where those blends come, they're less likely to make mistakes. But we go over a different either initial or final blend. Then words 4, 5, 6, and 7 will have the sound of the week in. 8 and 9, we are going over the tricky words, or 2 of the tricky words from the original 72 list. Again, remember, this is a spelling. It's a spelling it's focus. And then number 10 is always a longer word because we don't want children to think that they can't write long words. Okay, this is just the start. We don't want them to say, oh, I can't write that word, it's too long. Okay, so number 10 is always a longer word. Now, we do a lot of work on short vowels to begin with. I have my short vowel containers. Okay, we've got my bag, my net, my bin, my box, my mug. And we have little cards. Again, try and make it multi-sensory. We try and take it off the page, but actually what they learn can then go, you know, into their work. I have lots of little cards. And I actually have, you know, a bag and a net and things, and they can come up and they put the right card in. It can be an activity the children can do together or in small groups or pairs or individually in class as well. And sometimes when they're getting really good, I'll put pictures of words with a long vowel sound in. and then they just have to come and put those in a separate pile somewhere. So you're tuning their ears in. You're thinking, okay, they're not looking at the word man and seeing the ah. They're having to listen to the word man and listen for that vowel sound. Okay, and as I say, the reasons we do this is because there are rules connected to them. Right, we have things called flossy words. So F, L, S, and actually Z as well. If there's a short vowel and the word finishes with one of these sounds, it's usually doubled. Okay, so this helps build their understanding. The short vowel also comes into the CK and K. I have to say, most English teachers, if I go and train in a school, when I do this one, go, oh, we never knew that. Again, they just remember, they just know that sock is spelled S-O-C-K, so-ocker. Okay. If it's a short vowel, we need both letters. We need the digraph, we need the CK. If it's any other vowel sound, we don't. We only need the K. And again, if you teach that particular rule to children, then they're not making a guess every time they come to a word. You know, we often get the word bike, B-I-C-K-E, written by children, or then they'll go lick, L-I-C-K, and they'll put an E on the end, or they'll only, you know, come up to you and say, do I need C? Do I need K? Do I need both? What do I need? Okay, if we've told them and explained them and taught them that rule, done. No problem. They can carry on and tackle any word. Okay, I know we haven't got the chat box open, but again, you can have a quick check yourself at home. The first one, shell. Will we have a double or a single? Shell, L, short vowel, so it will be double. Hill, I, short vowel, double L. Tail, long vowel, so we only need one. Seal, long vowel sound, only need one L. As I say, we try and teach them things that are going to be relevant and they can apply as they go up and through the course. We have what we call our vowel hand. Conveniently, we have 5 vowels and we have 5 fingers on our hands, and the children should always have their hands with them. So we teach and we go a, I, o, a. It just helps them give a visual and a touching, an extra sense for remembering the vowel sounds. And then the long vowel sounds, A, E, I, O, and U. And also then that helps them to connect the two up. So if A doesn't work, try A. I mean, it's mostly for reading. It will get you out of trouble no end of times, but we still need that link. If A doesn't work, try E. It doesn't work, try I. O doesn't work, try O. Art doesn't work, try U, or possibly oo, particularly if you come from where I now live on the east coast of England, where the sound U does not exist. We have newspapers, we have computers, okay? Their accent is very much, as I say, that we have that oo sound up here, not anything else. So they can practice and connect the two up. We go over split digraphs because they come up a lot. Okay, split digraphs are sometimes called hop over digraphs, magic E. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. You still need 2 letters to make the sound, but they're split by 1 letter, which is why it's called a split digraph. So in this word pin, at the moment, that I is making an I sound. But if we had that magic E, that E on the end, then it's actually being part of that I digraph. And it's going to change it from its short sound to its long sound. So in fact, we've got pine. Okay. If you have 2 letters, like in rabbit, then the short sound remains. Okay. Rocket, we've got both CKs, so that E is not going to come back and influence that O, that O. Otherwise, we'd have a row kit. So again, we teach them that if it's one, the influence, the magic can hop back over. But if there's two letters in between, then it can't. And here's where we begin to see the crossover with grammar and spelling, because here we've got two words. On the left, of course, we've got hoped, but on the right, we've got hopped. And we need to make sure we use the right one because they mean different things. So if we, want to write hopped, then we need to make sure we double that middle consonant. And as you can see, lots of words use this rule. And again, once you've taught it, once the children understand it, they don't need to make that spelling mistake in future. You need to teach something and something that needs to be applied to other things they're doing. The sheets for the split digraphs are slightly different because we do give them some of the word. Well, we give them the words and they have to write the split digraph letters in to help them, and then they draw a picture of them. This is one actually my son completed, and you can see there, once they've completed the sheet, I used to give them a highlighter pen, which they found highly exciting, and they do what we call our hop over specs. So they would highlight, they go round the A clockwise, over the next letter, and then clockwise round the E, because then that links in their head that idea that those two letters are together. And by going forward, you're reinforcing that track forward, check whether that is on the end. So they always did that as an extra activity when they'd done their sheet, as I say, just to make sure they really understood that particular spelling pattern. We do lots of silly sentences because, as I say, we do one spelling pattern at a time in Grammar 1. So we look at all the words that take, whichever it is, the IE saying I, the AI saying A, and we make up silly sentences. I tie my tie, I eat my pie, and I lie down in a field to die. And actually, tie, pie, lie, die are the ones that you need for IE. They're mostly that's where they're used. Once you've got that, you don't need to think too much of anything else. The snail with a painted tail waits for the train to Spain in the rain and hail, and they can learn these sentences, they can draw pictures for them, and it just helps them reinforce that this group of words take this particular spelling, because that's what we're trying to do. I like to ride my bike. Again, we try and make up little sentences with as many of the words with that particular spelling in as we can, particularly if they're words that the children often get wrong. And again, with the spellings, it's not just writing lists down, it's not writing words down. So we have, I used to make little kites. In fact, they used to paint their kites. This is one I did with actually some other teachers. And then we would make a tail, and they would put lots of words on, or the spelling words on, put their hop over specs on them, and then we could make a wall display, or they took them home, or whatever. So again, it's multi-sensory, it's taking it off the page, it's getting that understanding in with the children and the things that they are trying to learn and that you want them to remember. What's my it's now? Oh, why won't it let me move on? There we are. So, as I say, we talked about my computer is doing strange things. We talked about the longer words on the end of the spellings, and the longer words on the end of each spelling list is a compound word, and the compound words, we have what we call our compound word birds, and these I'm going to get rid of this message. Why can I not get rid of this message? That's not fair. I'm going to Can I come out? Will it let me come out and I can start again? No. Okay. Okay. I'm not sure. Can you see the message in the middle of the screen? Currently, I can't get rid of it. Let me come out, go in again. Oh, that's better. Right. Sorry about that. Let's try this. There we are. Right, so we have our compound word birds. Some birds have more than one body. Some birds have several words on their tail. And it's just, again, a way of helping children understand longer words, breaking them up. We have our compound word bird templates in the back of the grammar handbook for the photocopiable ones. And I make up sets and they can have fun putting them together and deciding if the words do actually make a word. Particularly with sometimes if you've got a lot of children with English not as a first language, some of the compound words are completely understandable. A blackbird, it is a blackbird. However, a ladybird, not really anything to do with ladies or birds particularly, other than wings. So some of those I might then make up into sets with pictures for the children to learn the vocabulary and reinforce that learning. Okay, so as I say, I don't just want it to be a list of spellings that they learn once a week. Okay, it's not just 5 minutes on Monday where you give them the sheet and 5 minutes on Friday where you give them a spelling test. I'm very keen that the children go through and it becomes something that is part of the whole week's teaching. This might sound like completely obvious, but make sure you understand the spelling you are teaching. Read the teacher's page. Teach the spelling. Don't just give them a list and say, oh, these are all EA words and nothing else. These are EA words and they're all saying E, whatever it might be. I always read through the words and ask the children what they mean, particularly as you get further up. Then, this becomes important because I don't want them to have a word that they know how to spell, but they have no idea what it means. All right, I always sound out the words. I go through the words, we sound them out, and we point out the difficult spellings or the tricky bits or the spelling for that week. And I refer to the list during the class all week and beyond. If we've got a few minutes before we go out to play or before we go to dinner, whatever it is, I will go through the list. We'll read them, we'll sound them out, we'll blend them to make sure that they're not just sitting on a sheet in their bag. I put the question mark after full marks because most of my children will do all 10 spellings in this case. If I have a child who is struggling or has got some form of special need, I can give them 5 spellings. And if they get 5 spellings right, they've got full marks. Nobody needs to know. I just tell them they've got full marks. But I can adapt what I ask children to do by their ability. And parents are in partnership with us. You are sending those spellings home and asking the parents to help learn them. So I always pop in the spelling book where we send it home, how the children did, some indication, and try and ensure that the parents know that what they're doing with the children is working. So as I say, I will go over the spellings. I will get my list, which I have laminated and it's on the wall, and we'll go g, t. We'll sound out, get. Sometimes you run your hand out to show that blending the word, and I will go through them. Sh, or, shop. And as you can see on that one, the digraph, I've not put a spot, I've got a longer sort of overlay thing to show them it's a digraph. Flame, got that blend. We'll talk about that and practice those 2 sounds. Then I've got an A sound, so some people call that a dash. So it goes over the top and joins to the E. So slightly different way, same as the hop over specs. Okay, so I will go through when we're talking about them, And I'll do them both ways. I go get, get. So we'll flip them about and make sure that everybody in the class is going to get full marks, because actually that is my aim. It's not to trip some people up. Okay, so these are just a few that you can have a think about and see if you get right. And then we've got the digraph. So we have a line. Digraph. Digraph. Grape. So we've got the g-r, we've got blend, and we've got that hop over dash. Little it. That's a digraph. It's a double T. And the LE is also a digraph. The E doesn't sound little, but it's part of that LE digraph. No, we've got a silent K there. And the O, the OW is saying O. So again, doing this gives them a visual and deepens their understanding. We go through the tricky words 2 a week, but they are revising them for spelling. Okay, they should know how to read them. They should have gone over them in the first year, but in this grammar 1, they are gone over for spelling. Okay, and we can look at them in exactly the same way. Identify the regular bits and look at and highlight the tricky bits, because actually they don't need to learn the whole of it, because and the d they can hear. Okay, but what they need to remember is that the e in the middle is an AI. That's how they spell it. So we look for patterns, right? He, she, me, we, be. There's the e on the end, but it's an e, right? Was, it's was. To, do, it's an oo on the end, not an o. So we look for patterns, we point them out, we highlight the tricky bit to help the children remember. We also teach the alphabet. We go over the alphabet, and it's broken into 4 parts, which have got colours. The 4 parts represent, if you divided the dictionary, the words in the dictionary into quarters, the first quarter words would begin with A to E. So again, it's a way of helping the children with the alphabet and with looking things up in the dictionary. Because if a dictionary is going to be useful, the children have got to know how to use it. And starting at A, when you're looking for a word beginning with T, means you spent an awful long time turning over the pages. So the pages in the book are color-coded, the side of them are color-coded. And they know that if they're looking for a word with T, they open it to the blue section. Okay, so it just makes life easier for them and trains them into the idea that that's what they do. They don't just open it up at the beginning and turn pages over. They look roughly where it is, and then they can know which way to go from there. Dictionaries are great. We can learn lots from a dictionary. You can get the spelling, obviously. You can get the meaning, again, obviously. But also we've got the pronunciation. If you look next to where it says moat, and we've got those slashes that denounce it, it's a pronunciation, it sounds. Moat, you know, is more or less the same. We've got that O that we taught them is showing it's the O sound. Some words that are more difficult, it makes it much easier. And we also have the part of speech, which in this case is a noun, as you can see at the end. So the entries in our dictionary are giving you lots of information about words. Now in grammar 2, we do slightly more difficult things. We have the silent letters that come in. We'll go over some of these in a minute, some more alternatives, common alternatives. With the long vowel spellings, now we're not doing them one at a time. We're asking them to make decisions. And then we go over various other common spelling patterns. As I say, all the information is in the teacher's notes. If you see at the top, there's a little notepad thing. And on there, it tells you if you need scissors, if you need coloured pencils. And it will also often tell you, particularly on the grammar side, where it's been covered before, so you can look them up if you need to. Okay, this is a sheet from grammar 2, slightly different to the grammar 1s because they're older, they can do more things. Okay, we've got the spelling list and they have to write it in. They make a word bank, and then there's other things for them to do on the list to help, because the more they do with some words and the spellings, the more likely they are to remember them. Okay, and they go over the words and there's some revision at the bottom. The silent letters, they're just not pronounced. Comb, we don't say comb, rec, not werec. Knee, apparently in some places in Scotland originally we did say knee and knock, but we don't now. But again, it's just a digraph. That letter is combining with one of the others as part of a different sound. So the kn is making a n sound. The spelling lists for grammar 2 are slightly different. The first two are still regular words, but they may contain a digraph or a consonant blend. Then you have words with the spelling in. And 9 and 10 are some word families, because we've done all the tricky words. So the first ones have got family words. Then we go over the spelling of the months, because obviously children use those a lot. Then we go over numbers, useful words connected with maths, and then just useful words generally. So there's a reason why they've been chosen, and they build up. In grammar 2, we look at the soft C and soft G. So C, if it's followed by an E or I or Y, will make a sound like in face, in pencil, and in cycle. This is from the Jolly Classroom. And G will make a G, will make a J sound like cage and magic and energy. Again, when the children know this, it makes it easier for them to cope with the words. It's very much looking at making decisions, collecting word families up. So grammar 1, they do one at a time. Grammar 2, they have to make a decision. If it's weight, okay, which particular spelling is it? But they know the ones they've got to choose from. So they can write it down and look at it. Oh, yeah, it's that one. Okay, if not, they can look it up in the dictionary. So again, we're teaching them to make decisions, to think what words, have got this particular spelling in it, which words have got this particular sound in it. So again, we try and do things that are, take it off the paper and make it multisensory. Again, prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes add to the beginning of a word, suffixes add to the end, crossover with grammar, okay? And again, we're making the past tense, the past participle here, by adding ed, but there are spelling rules. Cheered, okay, we just add the ed. Hoped, right, we don't want 2 e's, so we lose one, and then the ed is added. Hurried, that y that comes on the end, it's there because it's toughy y. I in English words do not like to be on the end, so it goes and the I comes back. And then hopped, hoped, hopped. If it's hopped, we need to double that middle consonant, okay? I'm just going to move on because we're short of time. Comparative adjectives, exactly the same. New, newer, newest, you're adding that suffix. It's got a vowel at the front, so it follows exactly the same rules that you've already taught them. So you don't need to be teaching them new things, okay? Grammar, we're going to cover in part 2, which is coming later in the year. And tomorrow we are going to be doing grammar 3, 4, and 5, and having a look at some of the spelling ideas and concepts and things in that. So I'm going to stop sharing, I hope. Let's turn that off. Let's do that. Right. And if we have any questions, then we can try and answer those in a shorter time as we can. If you have any questions, I would say most of the time the answers will be in the handbook or the teacher's book. You've just got to read it, as my 2 friends, Tina and Celeste in Australia, say.
So there's one question. What if we don't use Jolly Dictionary, but any other dictionary?
Right. Well, that's fine. But it doesn't make life as easy, basically. Obviously, the Jolly Dictionary definitely has all the words in the spelling lists for grammar 1 and 2. And as I say, it's a training dictionary because you've got the color-coded pages, which, of course, other dictionaries won't have. I have my dictionary here. That's what I'm. So you've got the color-coded pages at the side so they know where to open it. But again, I mean, you can train children to say, well, M is in the middle, so open your dictionary in the middle. But as I say, it just makes it easier, and you know that all the words for grammar 1 and 2 are in there. But you can do it with other dictionaries. You just have to make sure that the words in there, or if they're not, you have to fill in the details. You have to do it for them. But it's not impossible, but it's just much easier. If you want to buy this book, I presume you're going to see SAR.
Yes. So is there any rule for copycat digraph where it should be used like AI, AY? So this is the question.
Well, yeah, I mean, on the whole, you know that AY is on the end of a word, because, as I said, I is shy in English. It doesn't like being on the end of the word. So its cousin, Tuffy Y, comes along and takes its place. So again, if it's a word like day or play, then you know more or less 100% that it's going to be an AY, not an AI. Other than that, you have to learn. You know, and that's why we do one sound at a time in grammar 1, so the children get this idea of these are the words that take the AI. You know, they know it comes at the end, it's AY, so that's not so bad, but there are 1 or 2 words which are child-centric, like crayon, that the AY comes in the middle. And then other than that, it's probably going to be a hop over E, which is probably the most common for many words. But by doing it in grammar 1 sound at a time, so you're giving them this visual, this idea. That's why we do the silly sentences. Mm-hmm. So when they get into grammar 2 and they get older and they get writing, they're thinking, oh no, yes, it was on that fish sheet, wasn't it? And it was the word with the shirt in it, or it was on the grape sheet. And it was a cake, so it was on the grape sheet. It's an A hop over E spelling. So we're just trying to give them pointers and ways to help them to remember, rather than just having to remember each spelling. Okay, so there's another question. How many digraphs can be taught to a KG2 child? How many well, as many as you can cope with, as many as you want to. I mean, obviously, as I say, we build it up. So they do the basic ones in Jolly Phonics in the first year. We mostly go over, we do teach a few more in grammar 1, and then again we teach a few more in grammar 2, and we're just going through and going up them and helping to scaffold their learning of the spelling. They're going to be coming across these in their reading, because hopefully they're, you know, reading lovely books, starting with decodable readers, then moving out, and again, some children have that memory and they'll be fine, no problem at all. They won't worry. But we are trying to help those for whom, you know, they haven't got a photographic memory, they can't remember every word. We are training them and helping them, give them the skills and the strategies they need to tackle unknown or new or can't quite remember words. Okay. So why a single sound of A is taught when it has other sounds as well? Hang on, could you repeat that? Yes. So why a single sound of A is taught when it has other sounds as well? What, the AI? A.
No, what she meant is, I probably believe, like the single letter A, make the sound ah. That's what we teach. Why don't we teach or a like that?
Right. Yes. To begin with, we give the the letter the short vowel sound, because actually that's generally what it makes when it comes on its own.
When it's making the A, then it normally comes with another vowel letter. Doesn't always, which is why we have the if A doesn't work, try A, or if A doesn't work, try A, and we try and link those two sounds. The names of the letters are really, we only use in the alphabet. It's for ordering things. The alphabet is for ordering things. It's not actually to help us to read, because when we're reading or when we're spelling, we're using, I tell my children, you spell with your ears first, then you spell with your eyes, then you spell with your mind, okay? Not the other way around. And on the whole, when the A comes by itself in the word, it's saying A. They do need to know for reading that if it's not, it's A. Again, they can look things up in the dictionary once you've taught them to, but that's why initially we teach the single letters with a short sound, and then we teach them to do the longer sounds with the two letters.
Okay. So Ms. Shivali wants to know, how many sounds do we have? 42 or 44?
or something different. Sue and I and Jolly Phonics, we teach basic 42 because we find the children can cope with that, and actually teaching very young children 42 sounds is actually quite a good, it's quite difficult. Technically, if you go and talk to linguists and phonicians, or what they call themselves, up at university level, they will tell you that there's a varying number of sounds, but we are, Sue and I, most of the people here today, we are teaching quite young children, okay? We don't need all the time to go into all the complexities. Yes, we will need at some point perhaps two, but for very young children, let's just keep things simple. So we've gone 42. We haven't done the Z sound, basically because the children just use the Z. They use it. It's not a problem. And things like the air, if they go air, then actually you've got the word, you've got the sound. You as a teacher can read it. So we have basically, we've stuck at 42 because we think that's the smallest number that is usable and means that the children can cope actually with any word that they're going to come across, which, as I say, is what we're doing, because we are teaching young children. We are not teaching someone at, the pinnacle of their university career. They can have those arguments, that's fine. I don't need them.
Sarah, can you tell us how to teach tricky words in LKG students?
LKG.
Yeah.
So which means 4-year-old.
4 years old.
Oh, well, to be honest, for 4-year-olds, for tricky words, I would stick to reading. And I would, again, just build up very, very slowly with the very common ones like the and I, which they're going to come across a lot. If they can remember them to spell, that's great. Tracing, possibly. Pulling the letters down, if you've got the tricky word and they match the magnetic letters to it. But for very young children, I would proceed with caution. But there are ways to do it, and some of them will cope quite happily. Some of them will cope without any problem at all. But again, I would stick mostly to teaching for reading, and I would always perhaps give them an example and scaffold if I'm asking them to write. They might have it on a card, they might be on the wall in the tricky word, something that would help them.
Okay. So Sarah, Miss Purnima wants to know, what is the exact sound of letter C?
K.
K.
But if it's followed by an E, I, or Y, it's
okay. Thank you.
So yes,
much.
that's why the alphabet is no use to us, because it's letter C, but it doesn't actually really come up in words. That's why we need the sounds in order to read and write.
Okay. So let me just check. What are all the questions? So I think, Sarah, that's it. We will now begin the assessment round. So the question is, that's all. So before that, I want to thank Sarah for such a wonderful and informative session. You have answered all the questions. So you should get some rest, as I think it's already late there.
Midday now, and I'm moving on to another training session shortly.
Okay. So our participants will continue the assessments, and we will see you tomorrow, same
Lovely.
time.
Thank you very much. I shall look forward to it. Yeah, and see you
Yes.
tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good luck with the assessment.
So now I'd like to introduce Ms. Akita, my co-moderator for today's evening. She will instruct us all on how to conduct the assessment. Over to you, Ms. Akita.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm sending the links for the assessment on chat, and I'm also showing you what it will show to you. So you can click on any one link that would be visible to you on the chat. Please don't click on all. So please click on any one link, and once you click on the link, it will lead you to this page. Please click on join as guest. And please remember, once you finish the quiz, then only you'll be receiving your certificates through your email ID. So please remember to finish the quiz. All right. So I'm sending the link on the chat. Please remember, once you go to this page, click on join as a guest. The links are there on the chat. Please click on any one link. I hope everybody is able to click on the link and go to Nearpod, the landing page. Then please enter your full name, and then please enter your email ID as instructed. A question will open up. Please enter your email ID. Kindly write your registered email ID. We needed to send your certificates, and then you can start with the quiz. If you face any problem, just send us a message and we'll help you out. I hope everybody can see the links to the quiz on chat. Once you finish the quiz, you can leave the meeting. If there's any problem, please send us a message on chat. So you don't have to download the app. You can just click on the link and click on join as a guest. If there's any issue, if it asks you to go to the app, please copy the link and then paste it in your browser. Send the link again on chat. So there is a quiz with about 10 questions. And before the quiz, it will ask you for your full name and your email ID. Everybody, once you finish the quiz, you can leave the meeting. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you again tomorrow. If anyone's facing any problem, please drop us a message on chat. So once it says, welcome to your lesson, full name, optional nickname, please just enter your full name and then click on join lesson. Once you click on the link, it will take you to a page that I just showed you. I'll show it to you again. So it will take you here. Click on join as a guest. Then it will say, welcome to your lesson. Enter your full name. Please enter your name and then start. Once you are done with the quiz, you can leave the meeting. We'll see you tomorrow. So after the first question, it takes a little time for it to load. So just be patient, please. Once you finish the quiz, you can leave the meeting. Thank you. So after it asks you for your email ID, there is a full quiz, but please be patient because it takes time for it to change the activity. You don't have to write anything under optional nickname. You can leave it empty. Just enter your full name and then start.
Hello, good evening, ma'am. Can you send me the link again?
I'm sending the links on chat.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So I am on the quiz, but for some reason it is not moving to the next page at all. It has gotten stuck, and then when I submit the answer, so I had asked the question in the chat box as well. So what I'm trying to ask is, are we supposed to submit the answer, or we are supposed to go to the arrow key? Because I am connected through my mobile, so I'm not really sure if it's not visible
So
or
you can
what.
click on submit. You can click on submit, and
Yeah.
then you can the arrow key, and then it will take you to the next question.
But it
So
is
once you
not.
click on,
So it is not. I'll tell you what is happening. So every time I'm going to the next page, there is a green circle out there, and it just says select four things, the previous question, and it's just not going to the next. And it's then the third page comes and says tap to start over.
sorry, so there is one question which is separate, and then there is a time to climb quiz. Have
Okay.
you reached the time to climb quiz?
Yes, I've reached time to climb quiz, and I've got my first question, which is select four things that you find out about a word using the dictionary. Okay, and I
Yes.
have clicked my answers. Now, what do you expect me to do? Am I supposed to submit my answer? Am I supposed to
Yes.
turn the page? Submit? Okay, so I submit my answer.
Yeah.
When I submit my answer, then it keeps buffering, and post it has buffered, it says select. Again, there's the question written, and then there is a green circle, and I'm just waiting and nothing is happening.
Actually, so because there's so many activities, maybe it's taking a
Okay.
little time. Please be patient with it. Maybe
All right.
it'll.
So I have navigated myself correctly, right? This is where I'm supposed
Yeah,
to.
yeah, definitely. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. You can unmute me. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Sorry, there was a technical issue, a power cut. So yes, tomorrow's webinar will be at 3:40. For grade 3, 4, and 5. It'll start at the same time, which is 4:30. I hope everybody's done the quiz. Kindly leave the meeting once you're done with it.
Hello.
So tomorrow, what we will do, ma'am, we can have this quiz again in a simple way, because I believe like most of you can see only one question, and which is the dictionary question. So we can have this quiz tomorrow again if you are joining, and then we can, or you can join for 10 minutes before the session at 4:50, like 4:15, we have this quiz again, better prepared, in which you can see it with the direct questions. So those who cannot view it or not able to solve it right now, you guys can exit, and then we can have this quiz tomorrow 4:15, and we start with the quiz at 4:15, and then we start with the presentation for grade 3, 4, and 5. Is that fine? Okay, everyone. So we are ending this meeting and see you tomorrow. Akita? Yep.
And
Ma'am, I have completed my quiz level and I got scored also. So it is directly submitted to you, or do I need to copy some link in the chat?